Welcome to this full review of the new Porsche Cayenne GTS. We picked here the GTS classic SUV form because here in this carmine red color with the GTS black accentuations, this is the classic Porsche Cayenne GTS. But in this review, we'll also compare it a little bit to the coupe version, also show a different exhaust note comparison, and also compare the interiors, classic SUV and the coupe, and what's so special about this GTS version now, once again, with the 8-cylinder. Here on Autogefuehl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. With Thomas in front of the camera, everything in exterior, interior and the driving experience in full HD, full screen and full length. And I would say there's an epic intro by Jonas coming up. Let's go! Holy moly. In the front we can see the typical Porsche shape, round structure, sporty designs, a put-up 911, that's how the Cayenne started. And the GTS version has of course a more menacing air intake, black accentuations already here, stronger bumper and so on. Then also the black grille here in the front. So a little sportier look, also dark background for the headlamps. Headlamps start standard with LED with all Cayenne versions. Then the GTS already includes the second trim, which is the dynamic LED. And optional, you can also go for matrix LED. You can already see here the 4-dot LED daytime running light signature. Alright guys, now it's time to take the bets. From which side will I enter the screen today? You have 3 more seconds. I'll tell you the length, 4.92 m, 16'1" or 194 inches is the length of the Cayenne, and here I am, gotcha. You thought this side, right? Well, but if you were right, then congratulations. So here the GTS, you can see it always comes standard with the painted wheel arches in the vehicle color to again get the sportier look. To me, an SUV rather fits more when you have the crossover wheel arches, but what do you think? There is a possibility for the coupe version to change that. We're soon going to show you that. However, here then it fits also to the rest of the color. Then, as for the wheel size, the base Cayenne would start 19-inch. The GTS automatically comes with 21-inch. You can also see it here. There are also 22-inch available. Again, we can show you that very soon. Here the black design is also standard because the black is the scheme of the GTS, and also in the nice spider look here. It's like a little bit 90s inspired, so it's pretty cool. Then the carbon ceramic brakes is the option here. You can see it here also with the yellow brake caliper PCCB. However, you can also go for the PSCB, that would be the tungsten carbide coating, and I would rather go for these if I want optional brakes because they also eliminate the brake dust but are not as expensive as these here. Then the typical SUV shape, both available, this one and also in the coupe, and the GTS also comes with the high gloss black frames here, again to get this dark menacing GTS look. In the rear we can see black accentuations everywhere, the Porsche logo hidden behind the glass here is also in black, Cayenne GTS logo in black, black diffuser in low part, everything dark tinted. Pretty cool, definitely. Of course, it would be more elegant than when it's in a brighter look, but here definitely carried out all the way with a sporty look. Then we got the sports exhaust, 4 pipes, and this here would even be optional for a turbo. You might remember that review. So we have also different versions from the Cayenne in our reviews. So this otherwise optional sports exhaust is standard here for the GTS. And then there's again another option, which would be again exclusive for the coupe version. Soon going to show that to you, and also with the exhaust note comparison. Last but not least, let's talk about the suspensions, because the GTS would come standard with minus 10 mm PASM, the Porsche Adaptive Suspension. And then option you can go for the air suspension, that in the GTS sits 10 mm lower from the base setup, but also varies in the height then. As for the engines for the Cayenne, let's start with the general overview. So we start with the V6 3-liter engine, 340 horsepower in the base Cayenne. Then there's the S model, the 2.9-liter V6 with 440 horsepower. Then you get the 3-liter V6 PHEV, 462 horsepower. Then comes here the 4-liter V8 now, again in the GTS with 460 horsepower. Acceleration figure 4.5 seconds to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And above that would be the turbo, which has the same base engine, also the 4-liter V8, but then 550 horsepower or 680 horsepower with the electric motor in the turbo S PHEV. So where does it sit? Yeah, just next to the turbo horsepower wise, but also next to the S model horsepower wise, in between so to say. But then again, difference for the S model and this one here is probably also the reason why they put then the cylinder difference, because the horsepower difference, you know, it's just marginal, by the way. I mean, in acceleration wise, it also doesn't make too much of a difference if you then go for the S model, the GTS, or with the turbo. Here, for example, comparing the turbo is about 0.5 seconds the difference, where the turbo is a little bit faster, but while driving it doesn't make such a difference. What is clear is that is the cheapest V8, so to say, and the extra price for a turbo is not really worth it. If you think about 70,000 euros, something more plus, for a base Cayenne, euros or dollars, and then you pay about double the price for a turbo model, also with a spec, and then the GTS is exactly in the middle of it. So let's now take a look at the interior. First of all, the door closing sound, very solid. In this case, we also have the option here of a soft close. Magic. Then, inside of the doors, here Alcantara is the GTS scheme. So let me just deactivate that beeping sound when the ignition is turned on. So GTS has Alcantara at the inside of the doors and red contour stitching, and that's of course then also really fitting to the exterior color. Reasonable door pockets on the inside. Then we have a Cayenne GTS entry badge right there, and the floor mats once again with the red contour stitches, and more Alcantara in the interior. For example, with the steering wheel, that's the best steering wheel you can get, great grip, and also very cozy both in summer and winter times. Then there's a dark headlining, also all the way covered with Alcantara. It's pretty cool. You can also go for a panoramic roof, which reduces the headroom a little bit, but brings more light in the interior. However, well, with the GTS, of course, you see more Alcantara when you have not picked the panoramic roof. Then special sport seats for the GTS, also with a stitched logo right here. There are some animal parts left unnecessarily. However, the main structure then is the Alcantara on the inside. Once again, signature to the GTS will soon also show you a coupe version with the optional sports lightweight package, which also goes with the fabric seats, but this would be more typical GTS. That's why we picked this car as a main vehicle here today. So let's get inside. And the sport seats are still comfortable. You have the upright, very sovereign seating position here for the Cayenne, and head clearance here with 1.86 or 6.1. There's really plenty of headroom left. With the panoramic roof, it will be reduced like, to this amount, but still you get along even when you're a little bit taller. You actually start the car right here, left. You have this key in the pocket or somewhere. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they do that because the typical thing would be that you open, put the key in here. They didn't want to do that here, that you can keep it in your pocket. But then again, I think it's just too complicated. Why not just a start-stop button somewhere? I mean, or what's your take? Do you like that to still have that feature? Then here at the steering wheel, we also have the shifting pedals. They give you also a very nice feedback. And the driving mode selector, that's another important feature. Sports and Sport Plus mode. And this is the Sport Response button. Then for 20 seconds here, you can see you have even more boost. But I'm not sure. I haven't, I've used it for testing purposes, but not really intended to use it because when you want to accelerate a little bit harder or plan an overtaking maneuver, usually you go to the sports mode and then that's it. So once again, comfortable seating position. I like these sports seats. They give you a little bit more shoulder support, but without caging you in. But there's also the electronic support here that you can make the bolsters a little bit slimmer or wider depending on your liking. And also the front area here can be drawn inward or outward depending on how you like that best. So overall, I think good seating position. And you already feel the sportier touch of the GTS. So definitely also interior-wise, the GTS is the sportiest Cayenne. Now the interior overview. You can see here again the horizontal stress, red contour stitches, sports chrono pack here with the red arrow. So yeah, always a beautiful emotional feature. 12.3-inch full HD display. Left side two 7-inch screens with the centralized analog RPM meter. Soon more details to the systems. Steering wheel again with the great Alcantara cover. I would always go for it, no matter what. It's really cool and just brings joy in every drive. Left side you have volume plus and minus, and then you can control the left thumb with that screen and right thumb controls the other screen, picking up the phone and so on. Driving mode selector you've already seen. Then in this middle console part, high gloss black everything. You have to clean it quite often due to the dust. You have some hotkeys still for the GPS. I always wonder that the GPS hotkey is on the right side. I would like to have it on the left side actually, but I don't know, maybe it's just me. Then the climate control is right here. Metal knobs, good quality, and auto clicking sounds. Yeah, I could do that all day. But then a lot of controls left here, for example, also for adjusting the suspension setting, and see it also leaves fingerprints, although I really don't have greasy fingers at all, but still it shows, a little bit of grease then on these. So they're extremely prone to fingerprints. The suspension settings, by the way, also change according to the driving mode. So here, sports mode and sports plus mode, then they also change magically, so to say. There's still a volume button left, by the way, just behind the steering, the shifting lever right here. And then further there, we have adaptive cup holders here. Oh, that's also like a special Porsche mark. It's interesting with the tire profile around it. Shall we make like, win a Porsche mark in the end on Autogefuehl. Then we have the Alcantara surfacing here. Very nice and cozy, also on the armrest. When we put it up, we have space for our smartphone. Now with USB-C chargers. You can individualize your home screen, what you want to see, at first sight. Then there's the GPS right here, good visualization, quite clear and also responsive enough. and you pick all the stuff here on the left side. Doing that while driving is a little bit complicated. I think the Audi software solution is a little bit better to use, I think, with the big app views right there. Here, for example, again, you can see how the driving mode selected steering wheel also changes different settings, and you can also play with the air suspension right there. There is also an off-road mode where the air suspension goes all the way up then. Climate control, most of the stuff is done with the buttons, but for example, turning on and off the AC, you can only do that in the menu. Then CarPlay, integration is right here, but you can also, no, you can't. Yeah, that's live. Usually, I mean, why do they show this error then? Usually it's there that you can make it full screen here, but in this case it's just grayed out. Not sure. So that's then the Apple CarPlay integration, and let's listen to that sound system. It's the Bose sound system we have built in here. It sounds quite nice. You can also go to the sound settings, and I recommend having it here with the surround media settings, especially for this kind of music. Then you have a more three-dimensional sound overall. And the instruments, classic, the analog meter here for the RPMs in the middle part, but you still have also a digital speed. Check engine light, by the way, is just when the ignition is on. When you really start the engine, then it disappears. More you can change here on the right side. Here, for example, the GPS is pretty cool to have it in there. Also, it appears when you reach the next intersection, for example, G-force meter, PDCC. We talk about that when we drive the car. That's the anti-roll control. Then you have the all-wheel drive distribution right here. And by the way, the fuel economy or fuel consumption for the day, between 10 and 12 liters, even if you keep it rather calm on 1 kilometers. So you're in a 20 mpg something range. But when you floor it out and do test drives, it can also jump a little bit more up. Now to the rear. Classic SUV building style we have here. And again, Alcantara use at the inside of the doors. Soft touch materials everywhere. This in this case should be the leatherette. And then the rear seats also with the same design scheme. And you already see this very upright seating position. That's pretty cool. Remember, the platform is the same they use also for the Volkswagen Touareg and for the Audi Q7, Audi Q8 and so on. All siblings and also built in the same plant. So let's see about the rear seating. Today, important shoe tabs to get rid of the mud. And then there's plenty of legroom left. That's comfortable. Upright here, very, very comfortable in the rear end. Can just stress again, this is way more comfortable than you would think, like being in a Panamera, for example. So headroom here, also no problem with 1.86 or 6'1". Again, panoramic roof would reduce it. And also when you sit in the coupe, soon going to show you that. This is then also a little bit limited, but they put the bench a little bit lower than for that. Here in this case, talking about the bench, you can vary the back part of the seat, and this is also a very high class lever. Then you can put it more back or a little bit more upright. You can also move the whole bench in 2/3, 1/3 split forward for more trunk, or then again for more legroom. Isofix are at the outs of the seats each. In this case, we also have a bench with a middle seating, although it's kind of single seat design. And the armrest, filled out but not adaptive, the cup holders here. You can also just switch the middle part here as a ski hatch. Sitting in the middle part, actually, does that work? It's actually quite okay, because they put the middle part also a little bit lower, headroom wise, there's no problem. It's actually one of the rare cars where sitting in the middle seat is actually very comfortable. So big surprise for that, no problem. So driving it with 5 tall adults does work. Just have to put your feet right and left next to the all-wheel drive tunnel. And then we have a sophisticated climate unit in here, also with the metal knurled knobs. That's pretty cool. Seat heating also for the outward seats. But yeah, that doesn't all come standard. And now USB-C chargers for the rear. 770 liter is the trunk capacity, a very well usable sports car, and sometimes we show you everything cleaned up and empty, and today I want to show you how does it look like when it's really all packed, and that's how it looks like. And you can see or have a better impression what you can actually fit in there. This again the normal SUV version, and the coupe will be then limited a little bit in the height right here, so it's a little bit more of a compromise then. So the height up to the cover is 43 centimeters. The width is a little bit more than a meter, and the normal trunk length is also a little bit more than a meter. So these are really good dimensions. And the total height here would be almost 80 centimeters. Last but not least, the loading sill also about 80 centimeters. So really good dimensions for this trunk. The only thing, well, you can, when you have the optional air suspension, also lower it a little bit with the buttons here at the inside that you have an easier loading entry. However, flipping them here, yeah, you have to go around and come that handy, but I think it's also the same for the Audi Q7, for example. There we go. Then you can also fix them right here. And when I leave the seat as I would be driving, this is the maximum of 2 meters, this stick, and this is about 1 meter and 90 to my front driver seat. The new GTS, available both for the classic SUV form and also here for the coupe. So this is here a GTS coupe, but also a special one. First of all, lava orange is the color, and then there is this optional lightweight sports package, which is exclusively available for the coupe, and that includes, first of all, you can see here the contrasting normal plastic wheel arches, which are not standard for the GTS. Then you have the 22-inch wheels, really massive, and carbon fiber ceramic brakes. Add to that, still an option, but included in this lightweight package is also the carbon fiber roof. And of course, you cannot go for a panoramic roof, and especially the combination, the lightweight sports package with the new GTS, will also feature a brand new additional exhaust. And in the rear, this is new. When you have the new GTS here and you have the coupe, then you can get with the sports design package also this new centralized sports exhaust with even more boost. So again, not available for the classic SUV form and also exclusive for the GTS coupe. Looks very interesting, looks very different. Let's make a sound test. First, the normal GTS exhaust that we also have at the SUV, and then this special optional performance exhaust. And as a variation, we also have the coupe version here for you. And this is the coupe here, as we showed you earlier, with the exterior, with the sport design package. And when you have the sport design package, on the inside, you then don't get the GTS Alcantara, but you have the sporty fabric seats. And they're also pretty cool. The look is, of course, a matter of preference, but the fabric material is for the climate function, so to say, so that it stays cooler in summer and warmer in winter. To me, even a little bit better than the Alcantara, especially in summer, whereas the Alcantara feels a little bit cozier. This one stays even a little bit cooler than the Alcantara in summer, so it's also a nice choice. This one with the sport design package, of course, always just with the Alcantara headlining without the panoramic roof option, because we have the carbon fiber roof. And here being in the coupe version in the front without the panoramic roof, here a lot of headroom left. So in the front, it's not really an issue if you go coupe or with the SUV. And the coupe with the design package, sport design package in the rear, you can see here the fabric also counts for the rear seats. And then you can also have this single setup or a through bench, both possible. And here we go. And well, the difference here in the coupe is that you sit a little bit lower and the angle is also a little bit different. So they put the bench lower. That is less comfortable from a seating position. But the reason is that you don't lose too much headroom. So you have a little less headroom, yeah, especially if you lean backwards, definitely. However, because the bench was lowered, it's not is quite okay still. You can sit here with tall adults, no problem. So if they would have kept the bench like this, then it would have been a problem. But overall, definitely the SUV has more comfort in the rear. Yeah, I know. You can do it even better with 2 wheels. But I also don't want to exceed the speed limit, so yeah. Where are the others? Yeah, that was like 0 to 80 approximately acceleration in Sports Plus mode. Yeah, pretty impressive, also with a decent sound. You can of course also use the launch control, but I didn't want to show off too much now at the traffic light because there were other cars around. Yeah, I think that's a nice start here. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge with the Porsche Cayenne GTS here in this new generation. And you might ask yourself, since we have the 8-cylinder here then, so what would be the reason to take the turbo again and pay even more money for that? Actually, I have no idea, because when you seek a sportier Cayenne, so then that's here definitely the way to go. I can already tell you that right now. So either I would rather go like stick with the base 6-cylinder, the 3-liter 6-cylinder, not even the S version, just base trim, and that's it, and don't pay too much money for it. Or if you want the sportiest Cayenne, then you can directly go with the GTS, have the Alcantara seating and so on, have a great performance indeed. The additional horsepower from the turbo doesn't make too much of a difference indeed. And you have a very sporty setup here. So remember, you either have the PASM, this adaptive suspension, 20 millimeters lower in the GTS setup, or you have the air suspension optional, which is also equipped with this very test vehicle, and that is then 10 millimeters lower. Yeah, since we have the traffic light here, we can do another acceleration. So in either way, the GTS will also be stiffer and sportier, and then we also have the PDCC in here. That's again 0 to 70 kilometers an hour. Yeah, pretty impressive. When you look at the all-wheel drive gauges here, by the way, we have a rear wheel bias, and then the more I hit the throttle, the more torque is also sent to the front wheel. Say hello to the speed camera. Yeah, so that's also a reason not to exceed the speed, of course. Now we can go to 100. Wow, very sonorous 8-cylinder sound here. That's of course pretty cool. It gives you such a sovereign feeling, really cool. And the car is still so great to handle. It's a big SUV, but it still feels so good in the handling, crisp and precise from the steering. So you have great command over it, especially good grip with the Alcantara steering wheel. And then the PDCC, this anti-roll control. We can also have a different gauge for that here. That shows me how it evens out the leaning of the vehicle. Wow, that is keeping the gas so straight. However, if you think about, I get a comfortable air suspension and I want to feel the air suspension, yeah, that's not really the case then here. So if you have the GTS and the air suspension, it's still more comfortable than the normal PASM, yes, but indeed you lose comfort. So if you want the most comfort and if you want a soft air suspension, then you would not go for the GTS mode. It really depends on what you like. But if you appreciate a very stiff air suspension, here for example you see how upright the car is remaining all the time, yeah, then that's actually a way to go for. As long as the roads are pretty even and good, that's cool. Here, by the way, the PDCC is always on. So this, some colleagues filming right here. So it's always on, this anti-roll control, but then in the sportier modes it's just like strengthened, so it's a different setting for it. It works even more. Now we have some nice countryside routes, and installed here, by the way, in the normal driving mode. Even in normal driving mode, well, the gears are not turned up that high then, that's the difference, but still the suspension is always stiff, but a little bit more comfortable in the sports mode. Here at about 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, it's perfectly silent in here. It will even be at higher speeds, so the noise insulation is superb. You have the upright seating position. The sports seats here are also very decently comfortable. They give you a lot of shoulder support, but without being like this super racy style, which just look good and reduce the comfort extremely. Then again, the Alcantara surface is also doing a good comfort job. So as I said earlier, either go with the Alcantara surface, or then if you have the Coupe, then pick the either also the standard Alcantara or then the fabric seats when you go for the lightweight package. So indeed, it is somewhat still a compromise between sportiness and comfort, yes. However, then the GTS definitely goes into the very sporty direction. So once again, the sportiest Cayenne, definitely, also especially from driving and also from this, sinister look from the exterior, sportiest one is the GTS. And that's something strategy Porsche has been, let's say, strengthening now with the recent GTS model. So far you could always say, yeah, the turbo is sportier because it has a little bit more horsepower, the acceleration maybe is a little bit better, but now, especially with the recent models, you can more and more say that the GTS models are always the sportiest ones, even though when the turbo gets more horsepower, when you want to show off more, but it doesn't stand in the price-performance relation or something. Here, by the way, the brakes from the carbon ceramic brakes, they have great braking performance. However, you always have to bear in mind, I would probably just go either with the base brakes or then with the tungsten carbide coating. They give you a little bit better, fine everyday driving feeling. The carbon ceramic brakes would of course be the best for the racetrack, but who does that? But I feel, in normal everyday driving, you have to hammer them a little bit more. We also have experienced from one of you guys who told me that they changed a little bit over time when you drive the cars longer. We always have the cars when they're still pretty new, but still, I also don't think that the option is really worth it for that. Here now, when the road is a little bit more uneven, then you feel, and it's really, really stiff, the setup here, even in normal driving mode, and you really feel like, am I actually really driving an air suspension? I have to check again in the car menu, like, oh yeah, we can change the niveau of suspension. So yes, indeed, this is the air suspension. And to me personally, I always like to feel the air suspension still. And, but it's a matter of preference. This one, and again, when you want the sportiest setup. Yeah, maybe or even here on camera when we're going off some bumps or so, like bang, bang. Although we have air suspension. So, but still, always talking inside the Cayenne model range, is of course still a comfortable car overall, and you can also enjoy some, longer rides and so on. This standard sport exhaust, which is here with the GTS, would be an optional in other models, by the way, so it's already a little bit louder, but you can really vary it alongside the driving modes. So when I'm here, like, some houses around and so on, I can still leave it in a normal mode that I don't annoy anyone, because even though when it sounds cool, maybe you don't want to hear it when you're sitting in your own garden. And already when I'm here in the sports mode, the gears are turned up higher, and there's also more sound already. And you can always use the shifting pedals. So when you're in sports or sport plus mode, the gears are already a little bit lower, but you can always strengthen that even more when you just use the shifting pedals, because then you can start an even lower gear. There's an M2 coming here. A really beautiful color, right? Thomas Blue. Yeah, and what do you need a sporty car for? Overtaking maneuvers, for example. So let's see, we have some nice, more countryside routes and so on ahead, where we can have a lot of fun with this vehicle. And in the next intersection, I think we can also pass this truck then. And that's also the thing, when you have such a vehicle, you always feel like, oh yeah, why can't this truck move? I want to go. So always watch out that you don't drive too fast with it. It's really, because it's so silent here and comfortable, yet at the same time so powerful, it is easy to exceed the speed. That would also be like, you know, this comfort balance then, and the upright seating position. Of course, one of the main reasons to go for the Cayenne instead of a Porsche sports vehicle, because you have the Porsche looks, they have the performance and so on. But then again, you have the more upright seating position. So and now we have clear track. Let's go to let's go Sports Plus mode. Yay! So gears are turned up higher, suspension even stiffer. The PDCC is working even more. I can see that now when these arrows are basically, let's say, filling up. So, and wow, look at that in the corner and how upright the car is staying. So you wouldn't really guess it's an SUV. Yes, you feel that you're still, of course, high up the road, but other than that, it really behaves like a smaller sports vehicle, agility-wise, and that's of course a very impressive thing. Wow. Yeah, indeed. Even feels sportier than the turbo, than, you know, just suspension-wise. Yeah, stuff is flying all around the vehicle, just from the G-forces, but since the suspension is kept so much upper, you hardly feel the G-forces. Of course, a little bit rougher when we're going over some bumps, but look at that, how flawless these corners are being mastered. Here at about 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour, yet at the same time super silent. This is just such a flawless SUV ride, one of the best SUV rides as for sporty aspects, definitely. The Audi RS Q8, I think, is the one that probably comes closest to that. I mean, there are also GLE AMG, for example. That's of course also a very good ride. Indeed, you can compare the GLE AMG models to the GTS here, especially because with the GLE, with Mercedes in general, is that the normal versions are really set out to a lot of comfort, and then there are sporty AMG versions. There's a big gap in between then, normal models and AMG models, and it's really stiff and rough. And this would be then rather than like the GTS model here from the Cayenne. And also driving feeling wise, it really is rather like a BMW X5 or X6M, because the M50i model, the M Performance model by BMW, still has a better compromise of comfort and sportiness. So this here, indeed, to me, comparable then to GLE 63 or X5, X6M and the Audi RS Q8. Wow, seeing how the RPMs are turned up there. So, said no one will probably take this car out to the racetrack, but it is actually possible. You know, you can take this car out to the racetrack and even score some decent lap times. Actually, no problem. Even though it's of course not really meant to be. But these countryside roads, of course, where you can really have a lot of fun with the vehicle. Precise steering commands here once more. And I think you also get a lot of Autogefuehl, the combination of great landscape, also with a nice sporty ride. So just such a flawless driving feeling, with of course the thing that you do lose comfort with this very stiff setup. I think the question is then at the end of the day, what do you really want? Is it the GTS here, the very sporty one, or is it rather a normal version? And what we can do here is do another start from the get-go. Let's see. Just checking that we have no one really behind us, that we have enough space. Yeah, we do. And then since we are in the Sport Plus mode, we can also do the launch control to close it up. Holy moly. That was a 0 to 110 almost. Yeah. What do you guys think? And some more Autobahn impressions here. First of all, the blind spot monitor, talking about assistant systems, appears here in the side mirrors. If you have that package, that's of course a very useful feature. Then we can set adaptive cruise control here in the lower column, and the distance to the car in front of me is being kept. and that works pretty well indeed. And when we have that one activated, oh, that's another speed camera. Always watch out for those, definitely. And lane change here again, higher speeds. Wow, really flawless. And again, 120 kilometers an hour, so it's like 70 miles an hour. Really, again, super silent and so calm and collected indeed. So it doesn't have to be that sporty all the time. You know, it is sporty, yes, but I've seen like the harsh acceleration stuff and so on. But you can also just use it for rolling on the motorway, and then especially when the road is well done, then you still have a good, comfortable experience as for that. So get off here and just switch it around and enter the motorway on the other side. It's always a lot of fun. Even if you are here in the normal driving mode and you still have enough feedback that the car is staying upright. Again, so flawless. And when the corner gets a little bit more narrow than you expect, there's no problem, there's no surprise here. The all-wheel drive still shows a rear wheel bias, especially also when you go outside the corner. So feel that the rear end is going a little bit further around then. That's of course a very nice characteristic. And again, when we have straight full acceleration, then it goes up to 50-50, that we can bring more power to the ground actually. So I can also set the cruise control here. I can also change the distance to the car in front of us and so on. This is the same way as Audi is still using it so far, with the separate column here below the steering wheel, because on the steering wheel we have the volume buttons here, and then right side, for example, and also to change something in the digital instruments. Once again, we get to the motorway here. I can always set it to sports mode here at the steering wheel. That I can enter the motorway a little safe, so to say. It doesn't always have to be Sports Plus mode. The Sports mode is already enough, basically. See here, that gives a little bit more boost, a little bit more sound, and yeah, indeed, it can be a little bit safer because the gears are turned up higher, and in some situations you want to be a little bit faster. By the way, interesting that with the 718 models, the sports mode is sportier, and then the Sports Plus mode is even sportier, but the Sports Plus mode doesn't give you the best exhaust note with the 718 models, because they want to be just racier for the racetrack, but not the best sound, so optimized really for best performance and so on. But here with the Cayenne, they made it that way that the Sport Plus mode also increases the exhaust note. So here it's really like normal, Sport Plus, that the exhaust note is strengthened mode by mode. So it really depends then on which Porsche model you have. Once again, I go to the normal mode to show you more of the adaptive cruise control. Here again, lane is being kept, or speed is being kept. So they do offer a wide variety of assistance systems. And we can also activate the lane keeping assist here under assistance systems. So you could leave that out if you don't like it, but we can also test that. Let's see how the car is. That was a little bit too fast probably. Now it works, yeah. So here the car is being kept in the lane. Together with the adaptive cruise control, there's then like, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be that active though. Let's test it again. Cruise control, 120. Lane keeping assist is active. Yeah, it works rather late, but that's probably also an intentional setting, so it doesn't interfere too much. So, yeah. Yeah, indeed, it comes quite late. So you could take it theoretically as a negative. It should maybe keep you in the center lane earlier. But then again, the good feeling is, even if you have that one activated, it doesn't interfere too much with the steering wheel. So we have some cars where you say, like, I need to turn that off. That's really annoying. But here it's rather subtle, and even, I have it activated now, and I don't feel that it would annoy me or something. So you can leave it activated, it's no problem. It's not that you feel I need to deactivate it right now, and I think that indeed is a good thing. And now to our conclusion for today with the new Porsche Cayenne GTS. So in general, if you want to go for the best price performance Cayenne, well, then go either with the base version because the 3-liter V6 is way more than enough. If you think about more high trim spec and performance, combining that with price performance, the new plug-in hybrid is actually the best price performance overall because they offer it intentionally at a very good price performance rate. If you also think about that the plug-in hybrid has the same horsepower figure than this one here. However, if you want the sportiest Porsche Cayenne, this is for you, the GTS. Sportiest, more menacing look on the exterior, sportiest interior, and also the sportiest driving from the suspension setup. Yes, the downside is that you do not feel anymore it's an air suspension because it has a stiff setup. However, combined with the overall sophisticated driving feeling and the upright seating position, it is still a good, comfortable ride, especially here also on the motorway when it's a good, even surface. Yet again, I mean, it's a big SUV, it's heavy, but they managed here, especially in the GTS version, that it drives literally like a sports car. So together, especially with the features like I didn't mention it before, this also had the rear axle steering, a very good option. So to say, fakes a shorter wheelbase. It feels more agile when driving slower because the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels. And then at higher speeds, more stability, rear wheels in the same direction than the front wheels. Together with the PDCC, the anti-roll control and so on, what a great handling from this big SUV. One of the best sportiest on the market overall, I think. There is also some fierce competition. Audi RS Q8, for example, I talked about it, or the Mercedes GLE in the AMG versions, just to name a few, BMW X5 or X6 and the M50i, or then the true M versions. You can check out these reviews on Autogefuehl and compare them. They all somewhat come close, have different emphasis and so on. So please also tune into these reviews. Also interesting choice between SUV and the SUV Coupe with this special sports lightweight package as well. And the interior fabric seats were of course also quite nice. Other than that, this is also one of the best interiors, as the Alcantara is the sportiest choice, and at the same time it's of course also a cozy choice, and you have a better climate feature on the seating overall. So very nice with a lot of Alcantara use here for the GTS, a really core characteristic model for all the GTS models. Not really worth to go the extra price for the turbo, I have to be honest. Then if you want a sportier one, just stick with the GTS. So, what do you think about the Cayenne GTS here for today? Leave us your comments. Tune into more Cayenne versions, or as I said, to the competitor reviews. We will link them in the video description and in the pinned comments. Thank you so much for tuning in today. See you next time.